What is up, Street Fighter fans, and welcome to a place where we discuss all things Street Fighter and Capcom. So if you're into this stuff as much as I am, get ready to be entertained. Today's topic is the Warning Warrior himself, Ryu. So without further ado, let's get into today's question. Is Ryu boring? Ryu, the hero of Street Fighter, the main protagonist, the head honcho, the leader of the franchise, and at one time mascot for Capcom. I actually have no idea who the mascot is now or if that even matters at this point, but for a while he was definitely the man representing the company. Hell, if anything, he would share that honor with Chun-Li now, but all that is besides the point. Ryu has been at the forefront of almost every Street Fighter game, and even when Capcom tries to move beyond the red headbanded fighter, he seems to just come back. And yes, I'm talking about Street Fighter 3 and potentially Street Fighter 6, since we don't know what's going on with Luke at the moment. At this point, we all know the story of the famous fighter. Orphaned at a young age to martial arts master named Gouken with no knowledge of his birth parents. While training with Gouken, he met another fighter named Ken Masters who would go on to become his best friend. Ryu would eventually leave to travel the world and thus enter the Street Fighter tournament. At the tournament, Ryu proceeded to make his way to the very top where he met Sagat, the king of Muay Thai and Street Fighter champion. Ryu would overcome Sagat, even though how this victory came about has been changed so much over the course of time, but nonetheless Ryu became the new Street Fighter champion. It was this fight with Sagat that led Ryu to tap into the dark arts known as the Dark Hado, a technique Akuma, Gouken's brother, uses and mastered. Ryu then returns home only to find out from Ken that their master has been murdered. Ryu travels the world in search of Akuma and finally finds him to avenge his master. Akuma fights with him because he notices Ryu also has the same dark power he does and encourages him to use it so they can truly have an epic battle once and for all. Now, Ryu has questions and begins traveling the world to answer the thoughts and doubts in his mind, but also to gain insight and become stronger. He continues to travel the world forever learning and training and testing himself against other fighters in hopes of improving and becoming a true martial artist. Now, I know the other details left out, but that in a nutshell is Ryu. So if you ever wanted to know what he was about or what he's like, then boom, your question is answered. Now, the real reason you're here, and the real reason I made this video, is to discuss, well, Ryu. Not his story or how he plays or the moves he uses, but the character himself. His likes, dislikes, his habits, what he likes to do, pretty much what the man is about. Essentially the things that make us who we are. And to answer the one lingering question, is Ryu boring? I mean, we know the guy, but do we really know the guy? So back to that question. Is he boring? A quick answer would be yes and no. And yes, I know a cop out of sorts, but hear me out, let me explain. But before we get into the video, if you guys love Street Fighter content, the games, the comics, the movies, and other Capcom goodies, then this is definitely the place for you. In this channel we discuss everything Capcom and why their games are so awesome, so please subscribe, hit that like button with a big sure you can if you want, and stick around. So back to Ryu. From what I described, Ryu does sound pretty boring. The guy doesn't really do much aside from fighting and just talks about his training 24/7. I mean, I'm positive he sleep fights at this point and dreams fighting, you know? The thing about Ryu is he doesn't know anything else. Like, fighting legit is his life and all that he was taught. Everything that he learned in life, friendship, honor, morals, all came through martial arts, so you gotta forgive the guy for not caring about other things. Ryu does have some interesting traits though. I mean, the guy's really skilled at what he does. Awesome fighter. He likes to walk around barefoot, so you know he's got really strong and callous feet. He also manages to wear the same gi everywhere he goes and somehow doesn't really stink. Now, I'm sure when he's not busy, he just washes his gi in a lake somewhere, but still pretty impressive feat if you ask me. And the most impressive is somehow his headband and belt blow in the wind at all times, when there's no wind. It's just like he commands it. I mean, this alone doesn't make him boring and quite literally the best character. As we all know by now, Ryu has an insurmountable appetite. Multiple iterations of the guy show his love for food and ability to eat a large amount. But it's not just the quantity of food when it comes to Ryu, but also his ability to eat just about any food. I mean, he's not a picky eater, and apparently he can eat anything, as long as it's edible and decent. His favorite food is miso-yoken. I'm probably saying it wrong, and I do apologize, but it's a sweet bean jelly from Japan. He obviously loves martial arts, but he also has a deep fear of spiders. Where exactly this comes from isn't really known, but there are stories that Ken placed one in Ryu's mouth while he was sleeping one time, and when he woke up to find the spider, he absolutely freaked out. Hence the fear. Now, don't know if it's true, but sounds good to me and would scare the pants off me as well. Yuck, not a fan of spiders. Which is also quite funny because Juri, the Taekwondo baddie, is all about the spider life, and there are people out there who like to pair these two together. So it would definitely be an interesting matchup, I'll tell you that. As for his personal life, according to Capcom, Ryu's actually a normal guy, believe it or not. He has a dedicated home residence with a phone line to make calls. In the Street Fighter Alpha drama CD, Sakura gets kidnapped by Vega, and he gives Ryu a call at his home residence to let him know. I mean, it's pretty funny that Vega just gives him a phone call like, yo, what's up, man? Which begs the question, how did Vega get Ryu's number? Anyways, much to Capcom's surprise, many people think Ryu was poor. I mean, I wonder why they would think that. Can't be because the guy's never shown to be home, or wears the same clothes all the time, or doesn't have shoes. But nope, they say he isn't poor. Now, it's not like he's swimming in money like his best friend Ken, but he definitely has a decent amount. Where does his money come from, you ask? Well, Ryu does like to street fight, so when he fights, he will often place bets on himself, and seeing how he can throw out projectiles, I would say this is a pretty safe bet. He also occasionally works as a bodyguard from time to time, and enjoys it because he likes dangerous jobs. Yes, Ryu, quiet, boring man, is a bit of a thrill seeker and at times doesn't like the mundane and quiet. In the Street Fighter Alpha manga, Ryu accepts a job to be a bodyguard for drug dealers. Yes, drug dealers. In that manga, that's where the inspiration for him to be a bodyguard came from. He also from time to time does physical labor jobs. Thrill seeker Ryu, you know? Show at times he has to work odd jobs in his interaction with customers, or he can show his on and off life as a bodyguard for people or clubs. Hell, they can even have done a little side story where he sometimes works for Karen, seeing how she's able to summon him like a Pokemon in Street Fighter V whenever need be. SNK vs Capcom Chaos did show the more interesting Ryu, and it's one of my favorite versions of him. You saw the living life dangerous version of him in that game, when he spoke with Choi. I mean, apparently the dude doesn't just like combat, but he likes really violent, weapon-based combat. Anything to test his skills, it would seem. So when I started this video, I asked the question, is Ryu boring? I kind of waffled on the answer and said yes and no. I'm tempted to say that again, but I feel that's playing it too safe and I should definitely pick a side. So I'm going to say no. But it depends. It really depends on how he's being depicted and who is doing it. I mean, from the Japanese comics to the American Udon comics, they do a pretty decent job of showing Ryu's more personable side and character. I personally like the Japanese editions better, but still the Udon books show his appetite and his sometimes attempt at humor, so it's really not too bad. There's definitely room and a lot of substance to show when it comes to Ryu, and could possibly be one of the more interesting characters if he was done right. So, final answer, no. Ryu's not boring, people. Surprisingly not. I'm Julian, and thanks for watching, guys, and please take care.